In the 1930s, Vegas started to become what we think of it as today. There was the legalization of gambling and the start of the Hoover Dam. It was a place for the blue-collar workers to go and have some fun after work. The casinos were small, and they had sawdust floors, and they were more like Western saloons than anything. But then in the 1940s, everything started to change. It started with the El Rancho in 1941. They started to build higher-class hotels and started to think about luxury with their construction. Pretty soon, the mob got involved with the opening of the Flamingo in 1946. Their business plan was simple: subsidize everything and attract people from Los Angeles with the cheap prices. Food, drinks, and shows would be loss leaders, and they'd make their money from people gambling. But then in the 90s, the laws started changing that weakened the mafia, and everything started to change. The mob started selling Las Vegas to corporate America, and the corporations had a different business plan. They'd try to squeeze every nickel they could out of their customers. You could still earn comps and get free stuff, but you'd have to prove you're gambling first. For the average visitor, prices have risen from being dirt cheap in the early 90s to what I like to call Disneyland prices today. But there still are places that follow that old mafia-style business model. Attract you in with the low prices and then hope you'll stay and gamble and they can make their money that way. Most of these are what we call locals casinos. You have all-you-can-eat lobster at the Silverton for $35, steak and eggs at South Point for $5.99. These places are far enough away from the Strip that it's too far to really be worth it for a tourist to travel there. But what if I told you there was one place that had the best of both worlds? Good food for cheap prices, and it's within walking distance of the Strip. Enter Ellis Island. Ellis Island is a locals casino that's about a block behind Bally's. I'd been hearing about their $6.99 steak and eggs for years, but I never made the trip. I find that most things rarely live up to the hype. On our last trip, we decided to walk over there, and for once I was actually shocked. I thought it actually lived up to the hype. To walk there, you take the road between Flamingo and Bally's. The closest spot you can get from inside one of the casinos is the sports book at Bally's. Then you're gonna walk about a block down to the stoplight. Fun fact, this is actually where Tupac Shakur got shot in 1996 after the Mike Tyson fight. Cross the Strip and you take a right. You'll walk about a half block and Ellis Island's there on your left. Before I went in, I was super nervous about finding the restaurant. Which restaurant in Ellis Island is the one with the $6.99 steak? I was picturing something like Caesar's Palace, where there's like a 500,000 square foot building and like 50 restaurants. Ellis Island's nothing like that. You walk in and there's a small gaming floor and then 2 restaurants and a bar that are all super obvious. There's a breakfast lunch type of cafe restaurant and a barbecue restaurant. When we went there for breakfast, I got the steak and eggs that everyone talks about. And I'm not gonna say it was the best steak that I've ever had. The ribeye from Top of the World was clearly better. That was also $85. And I thought it was just gonna be the one meal that was cheap, the one they advertise, but everything on the menu was super cheap. My wife got chicken and waffles and it was $9. And that was actually amazing. It wasn't just good because it was cheap. That was some of the best chicken and waffles that I've ever had. Before the tip, our entire meal was $17. Pretty blown away by that. A couple days later, we came back with our friends for lunch, and I wasn't as impressed with the lunch. It was a little more expensive, and the food I didn't think was as good as it was for breakfast, but I was still pretty impressed. I really want to go back and try their barbecue restaurant. I've heard really good things about that too, and it's also super cheap. And Ellis Island is definitely going to be making a regular appearance for at least one breakfast every trip. If you made it this far in the video, it would really help me out if you'd hit the like button. It really does make a huge difference. I hope your next trip to Vegas is awesome. Thanks for watching.